Welcome to Info Hub for Monday, September 24, 2018. We begin tonight's cast with this week's post-cabinet roundup, where we hear that Guyana is gearing up to host the ICAO meeting in November. A new Gaisuko board has been appointed, and India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi is due for a state visit in December. Here's more.
Minister of State Joseph Harmon announced that the new board of directors of the Guyana Sugar Corporation has been approved and will serve for a period of 2 years.
The members appointed were as follows: Mr. John Dow, Chairman; Mr. John S.L. Browman; Mr. Richard N. Comabach; Mr. Paul Chung; Mr. Fitz McLean; Mr. Vishnu Pandey; Mr. Ramesh Prasad; Mr. Naurang Prasad; Mr. Roy Hanneman; Mr. Claude Eric Housty, and those are members, along with Dr. Harold Davis, the acting CEO, as an ex officio member.
Close to 400 delegates will be hosted in Guyana for the meeting of the International Civil Aviation Organization on air transport. The meeting is being held from November 21 to 23rd by ICAO, CARICOM, and the African Union under the theme Promoting Connectivity for Sustainable Transport Development.
That will focus on such issues as harmonizing regional air transport, the regulatory framework, liberalization of air cargo, and thirdly, air transport and tourism. The third meeting of African states and the diaspora will also be held as part of this event and will focus on the promotion of tourism and air links between African states and the diaspora, including Caribbean states.
A national committee under the stewardship of Director General of the Guyana Civil Aviation Authority, Colonel Egbert Field, is tasked with finalizing plans for the meeting. In October, Guyana will also be hosting the Least Developed Countries Small Island Developing States Trust Fund workshop on human rights for Latin America and the Caribbean region.
Cabinet was advised that this event formed a significant part of a series of regional workshops to be held by the Office of the High Commissioner on Human Rights. Hosting of this workshop will be a further indication of Guyana's commitment to the promotion of human rights worldwide, and especially among CARICOM countries.
Minister of Communities Ronald Bulkan submitted to the Cabinet a report on the National Conference of Local Democratic Organs hosted on July 26. Chairpersons of the Neighborhood Democratic Councils, Minister Harmon said, highlighted several impediments to service delivery.
Recommendations emanating from the conference were made under 3 broad headings, and they were institutional strengthening and capacity building, infrastructural development and public awareness, and community participation. The recommendations will inform the Ministry of Community in its 2019 budget proposals. Cabinet accepted the report and urged that the process of enabling local democratic organs to improve the delivery of services to their communities be continued.
Minister Harmon said Prime Minister of India Narendra Modi is expected here in December. It is anticipated that the Indian monument at Palmyra will be completed in time for that visit. The government has also extended best wishes to members of the indigenous community as the country celebrates Indigenous Heritage Month of activities. For InfoHub, Stacey Carmichael.
Minister of Foreign Affairs Carl Greenidge earlier today joined heads of government attending the 73rd session of the United Nations General Assembly in New York for the unveiling of the Nelson Mandela statue just outside of the General Assembly Hall at UN headquarters. The statue's unveiling marks the start of the Nelson Mandela Peace Summit, a high-level plenary meeting held to celebrate the 100 years since the birth of Nelson Mandela and promote his values. Minister Greenidge is expected to chair a segment of the summit later today. The Civil Defense Commission has advised that Tropical Depression Kirk would become a tropical storm within the next 24 hours and would be passing close to the low coastal plain of Guyana on Wednesday, September 26, 2018. There is a possibility of heavy rainfall, thunderstorms, and high winds. The Commission and Hydromet Service will be monitoring the system and give updates. In this regard, Minister of State Joseph Harmon has noted that the CDC is well prepared to deal with any emergency.
Even when these storms do not affect us here in Guyana, that the Civil Defense Commission prepares for them. The last storm, I think it was Isaac, which was dealing with Barbados and some of the other Caribbean destinations. The Caribbean Disaster Management Agency, CIDEMA, would usually put out an alert to all of the countries that are part of that system. And so Guyana did, in fact, receive an information to that effect. And we have in place a mechanism in the Civil Defense Commission that actually steps up our preparation once we have warning of any impending disaster or hurricane, as the case might be.
In the lead up to local government elections, LGE, Barima Winey residents are being encouraged to make their votes count on November 12. This call came from Minister within the Ministry of Public Health, Dr. Karen Cummings, as she visited the region recently.
While the minister's visit sought to engage residents on the status of healthcare delivery in specific areas, she was apprised of other issues affecting residents in their various communities. The minister pointed out that the community's progress and development rests in the hands of residents when they vote at the upcoming local government elections.
And the local government is coming up, and so we definitely, all politics is local, and we want them to ensure that the persons who they're going to nominate, that they have the interests of the community at heart, because we definitely want a clean environment, free of chikungunya and Zika and all, dengue and all those, vector-borne diseases.
Additionally, Minister Cummings explained that nominated persons must emulate certain attributes which will ensure they function effectively at the local government level.
We have different tiers of government, and the NDC is the local government, we call it, and then you have the Regional Democratic Council, and then we have the central level. So the person who's going to be nominated and voted, going to win the elections there, they have to work with a not only NDC, but the RDC, and even central government. So you want a person who is people-oriented and who could get things done.
Local government elections 2018 is set for November 12. On behalf of central government, ministers have been reaching out to communities to ensure that residents are sensitized on voting in this year's LGE. For Info Hub, Delicia Haynes.
Why when I drink and I get smoking off? Hey barman! Y'all don't sell cigarettes anymore?
The new tobacco law says we can't have cigarettes on public display and we can't advertise that we sell it.
Okay, give my pack.
You can't do that in here, buddy. The law states that you can't smoke in an enclosed area. You have to go outside.
I think that's how they do it in foreign. So, the law finally comes again. I'm glad though.
Let's all work together to prevent cigarette smoking-related illnesses.
Welcome back. The National Drainage and Irrigation Authority is now housed in a new complex consisting 5 renovated buildings in the Guyana Sugar Corporation's Labon Intention compound. More in this report.
At the commissioning ceremony on September 21, Agriculture Minister Noel Holder said the plan is to locate several agricultural agencies at the new location, bringing them closer to those housed at Monrepo. This, he said, would allow for greater coordination and collaboration between the agencies.
For instance, NARI has a mangrove restoration project which aims to augment Guyana's sea defenses by protecting, restoring, and managing the natural coastline barrier provided by our mangrove forests. This project, by its very nature, contributes to flood risk management and should be coordinated with the DNI infrastructure. As mangroves provide added flood protection via sea defense. But NARI and NDIA, do they have much dialogue on how synergies can be effected between their respective activities?
NDIA's Chief Executive Officer, Frederick Flats, explained that the new $107.3 million facility comes after years of the agency shifting from place to place and being housed in cramped condition.
We have refurbished 4 buildings as well as construct a building to house a new generator, water trestle, and so on. For this work, we have had 5 contractors.
The NDIA's move to Gaisuko's LBI compound is in keeping with plans to utilize the facilities of the now closed estate for centralizing many of the agricultural agencies housed in detached regional locations. Recently appointed Chief Executive Officer of Gaisuko, Dr. Harold David Jr., is also the chairman of the NDIA Board of Directors. He welcomed the move by the authority, noting that Gaisuko has a range of facilities that will be beneficial to the NDIA. Paul McAdam for InfoHub.
Our infrastructure correspondent, Renetta LaFleur, recently traveled to the South Rupununi, where urgent repairs are being carried out on roads and bridges there to allow for comfortable travel to communities, especially now that 8 wells will be drilled in those parts.
The project is divided into 3 lots, with Lot 1 being Lethem to Aishalton, Lot 2 Aishalton to Shia, and Lot 3 Aishalton to Baishydrum. Region 9 engineer Raphael Lewis said, to date, the rehabilitation works are progressing well and are expected to be completed by the deadline.
Yeah, we're just ensuring that the roads are in proper condition for the Brazilians to come through, right, with their machinery, right, with the heaviest one being about 57,000 tons, which would be a low bed, and the well drilling machines, because they plan to start from 2 different ends, one from Shia, which is, they plan to start from Shia and having set up a base in Aishalton.
Lots 1 and 2 were awarded to JR Ranch Incorporated and International Import and Supplies Construction Companies, respectively. International Import and Supplies Manager Roshan Rampasad said from Aishalton to Awaranao has been completed. They will now move on to Maruanao and Shia.
Well, it was basically a trail, and we had to excavate a lot of soft spots. Our scope of works is to open the width of the road, truck some materials, mostly gravel, put down some HDP pipes.
The scope of work initially awarded to International Import and Supplies only involved the filling of potholes. However, the contractor is also carrying out comprehensive work such as grading and shaping of the road. These rehabilitated roads are expected to withstand the elements long after the wells have been drilled. Renetta LaFleur for InfoHub.
And finally, the 2nd edition of Akawai Basketry Techniques was launched today by the National Trust of Guyana through the Ministry of Social Cohesion as part of its Heritage Week exhibition.
At the launch, Minister of Social Cohesion Dr. George Norton urged the public to embrace and preserve their culture and heritage.
You must know that culture and heritage is so crucial to our existence as humans that it is a significant agenda item within the SDGs, being linked to education, food security, the environment, economic growth, sustainable consumption and production patterns, as well as peaceful and inclusive societies. This is why it is important for us to preserve all the culture and the traditions that we've inherited from our ancestors, so that it can be used as tools to sustain future generations.
The minister also encouraged all local authors to follow Nkesa's footsteps and highlight and document the country's culture. Nirvana Prasad, Chief Executive Officer of the National Trust, noted that this year's focus is to establish a link between heritage preservation and sustainable development. This, she said, is being made possible through the collaborative effort between Tourism, Department of Environment, Ministry of Education, among others.
It is the hope of the Trust that this intention will enhance citizens, policymakers, researchers, and the general populace's understanding of the importance heritage plays in every facet of life.
The National Trust will also be hosting 2 public lectures on October 5 and 8 at the Moray House. This year's theme is Today's Heritage for Tomorrow's Generation, Safeguarding and Promoting Guyana's Heritage in a Green Economy. For InfoHub, Delicia Haynes.
Connect with us on WhatsApp, social media, and our website at dpi.gov.gy. We leave you with the bridge and weather reports. Goodbye.